gun to your head, take out the big boards, take out trading the guy. Who do you think is the most Daryl Morey guy they could take it through? Like, if just strip everything else away, who is the player, if we assume Flag is 1 and Harper is 2, who is the guy that visually pops in your head?
So,
you want me to go first?
I think you brought up a good point, though, because I think what a Daryl Morey draft prospect looks like when you don't have a guy is different than a Daryl Morey prospect when you have the guy. Like, when you don't have a guy, you see him do stuff like Jeremy Lamb, where you're worried about not necessarily building a team around the player that you draft, but accumulating players whose value increases over time, so that then you can package them in a move when you're ready to pounce. A lot of this comes down to, does Daryl Morey still, in his heart of hearts, believe he has a guy to build around? Whether that's Joel Embiid with the injuries, or whether that's Tyrese Maxey with his limitations as a number 1 option. If he does, then I think he could take a different approach than if he doesn't. And I don't know his state on that. I think all of us sitting here would be like, you've got to get a guy that you believe can either maintain value or grow into that guy, because you don't trust Joel Embiid because Tyrese Maxey has limitations. But I don't know exactly what Daryl thinks. That being said, I don't see... It's tough because it does run counter. And it's also tough because he's never drafted third. Like, almost all of these picks are exclusively outside of the lottery, much less a top 5 pick.
That's what, listen, no one's being held to this. I
got my answer, man. I'm just waiting for you.
I don't think it's Ace Bailey. I would go VJ as a Daryl.
I was going to say VJ. If I had to sit here today, I would say VJ. If we take about the trade part of it that you just explained and creating that value for later years, I would say it's VJ. And also because if he does if he still believes that he has a guy and he's keeping these 3 together, VJ seems like the one that slot him right in. And the scoring will come from McCain maybe and Quentin Grimes maybe as the guys coming off the bench or as that other starter. And VJ Edgecombe is my choice right here.
That being said, if he truly in his heart of hearts believes in Joel Embiid, I could see Khan. I could see him looking at Khan and thinking he's a great fit.
I'm going to throw a curveball.
If this was at this time, you're going to go say
I'm going to throw a curveball.
Please say it.
Go ahead.
Trey Johnson.
That was my other one.
Because as we go back through this list of names, right, one of the things that I was in on was...
You value shooting a lot from guards.
Value shooting a lot at the position, but also big school, big conference, big production, right? Like this
SEC
is,
Rookie
again,
of the Year.
We have harped on this over and over, but it's worth doing it again. This kid put up 20 points a game on great 3-point efficiency, not great overall efficiency, but great shooting. Like maybe the skill in the draft is Trey Johnson's pull-up shooting and movement shooting. In the toughest conference in college basketball, by far, one of the toughest college basketball seasons for a conference in like 15 to 20 years. And I think when you look at some of the underlying stuff and say, I can see some playmaking flashes. I see this kid is maybe a better passer than stats showed, or maybe even the tape showed at times. The athletic testing was very good. The tools, very good. Like, I get it. I'm the one who wrote the big scout report, and I've been on the show saying, God, I hate watching this kid defend, right? Like the lack of rebounding, all that. And the lack of rebounding, I think, is where this veers off from Daryl. But there are a lot of ingredients of this kid can be a big-time player, and you don't think as much about fit. You don't think, and that's, Derek brought up an important point. If you do think you have the foundational guy still, that stuff creeps in more as you make this eval. But if you're saying like, hey, I really got to swing for the fences here, this is a kid who might be able to be like a 25 to 30 point per game scorer, who has unlimited range, who can play on and off the ball, who's got untapped playmaking potential. Like, I don't think that would be all that off script compared to what his history is. Do I think he's the most likely pick? No, but I would not discount him. And then add on to that, we've heard from Gavoni, Sam Vecini, a bunch of the draft guys who I think all of us, respect and trust. Wasserman. Trey Johnson's also gotten a lot of really good reviews for work ethic, character, interviews, like all the stuff in the pre-draft process. So as we talk about Maxey and McCain and some of these other guys who that was some of the stuff that really helped them and has helped them get to, levels that maybe other people didn't think they'd get to, something to keep in mind.
And he's 6'6", not 6'2", 6'3", like those.
Right.
Other
6'11" wingspan too.
Yeah.
And a truly awful defender.
Yeah,
no, the whole point.
I get it.
The whole point of the size and the wingspan is to defend. No, it's a good point, and it's interesting because Trey hasn't been really rumored to the Sixers at all.
He's one of the few guys that has not.
I think it was ESPN today, even brought up Khan possibly being not to mock him to, but like you could, yeah. But I don't know if that's a good thing in that Daryl's keeping it quiet if it is theoretically Trey.
Not anymore.
Or if it's a bad thing because McCain was the guy mocked at the Sixers all spring and he ended up being the pick. It is interesting that nobody has really brought up Trey to the Sixers.
Pick him at 3, man. That'd get it going.
Oh, we got some
I
good
asked
debates.
you that when I said strip away a lot of the other stuff, and they won't do that, right? They're not. If they take, whether it's Ace, whether it's VJ, you do consider trade value. You do consider fit. You do consider the Joel Embiid part. I'm just trying to drill down to the essence of what's the mentality.
I love it.
What's the mentality? I don't
And
think
look,
it'd
we
be
just
crazy.
did the show the other day on fit and best player available, all that stuff. He fits. And that's why when we talk about Con Knipple on Thursday's show and where people were like, why are you talking about Con Knipple? Guess what? You just pointed out. Jonathan Gavoni was the ESPN that had him right, or Jeremy Woo, whatever one of them, had him right there in there. The draft starts at 3. If San Antonio doesn't do anything but take Dylan Harper, the draft starts at 3. And all of these names are on the table, not just because of the Sixers, but because of the trade possibilities that a team might want to jump in and take Ace Bailey or VJ Edgecombe.
Let me bring up exactly. You keep talking. I'm going to bring up
all
exactly
I'm
what's
saying
going on.
here on this exact subject is if we're saying Daryl Morey is a guy who wants production. Right? Tangible production, you can't ignore the guy that put up 20 points a game in the best conference in America.
Rookie of the year.
Like you don't ignore him. I'm not saying I would.
Freshman of the year.
He's a level or two in terms of likelihood in my mind below Ace and VJ.
Yeah.
Right. Or even Khan. Like Khan, we've heard some real smoke at this point.
So here's the Khan smoke from ESPN earlier today on their latest big board. Again, this was a mock draft, not a big board. So those rankings are not necessarily projecting to a team. But on Con Knipple, he wrote, on the heels of a remarkably efficient freshman season, Knipple is receiving long looks in the top 5 of this draft with his excellent shooting and overall readiness to contribute offensively, creating a strong selling point for front offices. Philadelphia, Charlotte, and Utah all represent potential landing spots and would benefit from plugging him in right away. Now, it's not necessarily reporting that the Sixers are considering it, in part because I think the Sixers are pretty locked down when it comes to what their actual intentions are. But you are starting to hear at least a little bit of buzz of he could be in play. Mm-hmm. Again, I don't think they should take him at 3. We talked about that pretty directly yesterday, but he is certainly in the realm of a top 5 pick.